has been fast growth in the data center related server virtualization synced with the development of digital economy. And at the same time, the impact of the 2020 epidemic have slowed down the project process of some vendors, resulting in a lower growth rate of the overall market size. However, according to the CCW research, China's server visualization market will be around 4.4 billion yuan in 2020, up to 60% increase year on year. CCW research results show that the government, manufacturing, finance, telecom communications, medical education for the top 6 domestic server visualization accounted for a higher proportion of the industry in 2020. In the term of the market competition, as a domestic open resource product based on the OpenStack KVM continue to emerge, the productionization capabilities of vendors continue to grow, making domestic vendors increasingly strong in terms of the market and the technology. At present, such as Xinhua Sun, VMware, Huawei, and Microsoft are still in the leading position in the Chinese server virtualization market. There are also some challenger teams, such as Xinchao, Xinxinfu, or Hongmao. So, vendors as the Outscore and Haiyun have become the important innovators of the field of server visualization technology. And at the same time, as domestic cloud computing vendors such as Qingyun gradually asserted their influence and also have become the important players. So I'm very happy and looking forward to today's webinar to discussing more about opportunities and the challenges. On our panel today, you can see that we have a great range of professionals who will be joined by our moderator, Federico, and I am sure we are going to have a fruitful discussion. So again, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to welcome you, and I hope everyone will enjoy the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sierra. Before we start with the webinar, please allow me to introduce you shortly the UTEC, the European Technology Chamber. It will be very short with a few slides, especially for those of the people of the audience that doesn't know us yet. So, as Sierra said, I am Federico Gonzalez. I am the director of the China Alliance here at the UTEC, and I want to welcome all of you to this webinar. The UTEC Chamber is a Swiss non-profit organization with headquarters in Germany, nearby Munich, in where we basically are trying to help people and companies and enterprises to be more competitive through technology, to be more sustainable through different ways, and also to have access and opportunities in different markets, so helping them also to grow. This is the structure of the chamber, of our chamber. As you can see, we are divided into alliances. We have the regional alliances in where we focus on different territories like China. Today's topic is related to China, but we also have Africa, we have Latin America. In Europe, we are focusing mainly in the DACH region, helping companies and even individuals to establish in those territories, to do business, to get leads in those areas, and to develop their activities and projects there. Of course, the tech alliances are the core of the chamber. In there, we are focusing on different sectors like energy, like IoT, like manufacturing, etc. Of course, We are developing different activities and projects in each one of those sectors, and I will be very happy if any of you have some inquiry or question or want to know more about any of them. Happy to connect with you and to give you more insight about that. And of course, impact alliances in where we are having, for example, the Climate Action Alliance, the SDGs Alliance, Women in Tech and Finance, providing help, providing support in different ways to all our advocates, to all the followers also of the chamber, and trying to make them work in a more efficient way, in a more competitive way. Today we are in our China Alliance webinar, but not only the China Alliance has webinars. As you can see in these slides, we have over 200 webinars per year, with almost 700 speakers coming to our webinars and sharing with us and with our audience their knowledge, their experience, their use cases. And then we are also expecting to have and to arrange next year, starting next year, because of COVID, not this year, 20 expos, hybrid events with physical people joining our events, plus the virtual exhibitions for those that are far away that cannot join us physical. This will be coming in 2023, and we are having over 50,000 people registered into our webinars, which is a nice number, and is how the chamber is growing, and is how we are able to do what we are doing. Of course, the chamber is a very strong tech network. We are arranging over 400 networking meetings every year, in where our members, our advocates, have access to the speakers and to the panelists, in where our advocates have business and find business opportunities, business leads, and of course, in where we also help our members, our advocates, to get the EU projects and funding through tenders, through grants, etc. This is the ecosystem of our chamber. As you can see, in one hand, we are developing white papers, position papers. We also have our magazine Visions for Europe, in where our experts share a lot of experience and knowledge with the rest of our community. We are running our free of charge programs for our advocates, like the social media program, like the Climate Action Partnership, like the Digital Transformation Program. All of those programs are helping companies to improve, to be more efficient, and are free of charge for our advocates. And of course, we are having our Tech.Forum, our online networking platform, where all our members, our advocates, have virtual booths. We arrange our virtual expos. We have our users database, and we do almost everything we do here at the chamber through the Tech.Forum. I invite you all to have a look on it, to be in touch with me or with anyone of the chamber, and know more about it, because it's really a very good way to continue growing, to continue developing, to expanding, and to getting more business leads and business opportunities, and to do it in a very nice and cooperative environment as the UTech it is. So that's all from my side, introducing you, the UTech. As said, please contact me or any of my colleagues here at the UTech if you have inquiries, if you have questions, if you want to know more about us, and then we will be very happy to help you guys in this regard. So right section of the webinar. Again, good morning and good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for joining us today in this digital event that we are sure will be very interesting for all of us to have a better understanding of a very important topic, such as virtualization of services in China, and also of the trends, challenges, and the business opportunities related to virtual services that the country offers to foreign companies. Always, I invite you all to share with us your questions about the topic, you can write them at the Q&A section of this meeting room. Later, I will pick up some to ask them to our panelists. Please don't wait until the end of the panel to send your questions. You can do it anytime starting now. Today, we are honored with the presence of four great panelists. I say four because, in fact, we have four. I don't know if one of them, Cici, is able to make it. She had some problems joining the room this morning. I tried to help her. Let's see if she's able to do it. All of them.
I'm here, Federico.
Great. Excellent, Cici, because I cannot see you right now. All of them with a huge experience in China. I am sure they will offer us different points of view about today's topic, sharing with us a great vision of its current situation, trends, challenges, and opportunities in China, and also telling us, in their opinion, where the country is heading in this virtual services sector. So, please let me introduce you Marco Vinciguerra, a partner at HFG, a law and intellectual property in China, in Shanghai. Marco provides assistance to individuals, small and medium-sized enterprises, listed companies, and multinationals in their commercial and industrial current activities and investment projects in the People's Republic of China and Hong Kong since 2007, even as I was speaking with Marco before, even earlier than that. Marco, welcome. Our second panelist is Wang Zhiwei, Director of the Green Industry and Enterprises of China Biodiversity Conservation and Green Development. He has been engaged in corporate strategic planning and digital transformation consulting services for many years and has participated in the planning and construction of industrial information platforms in various industries in China for many times. Mr. Wang has a unique insights on Chinese art and intangible cultural heritage, and the outcomes of the plan have been fully recognized by industry experts and senior Chinese leaders, having his own independent methodology in industry innovation, which has been applied in many industries. Currently, Mr. Wang uses his own innovations to apply to China's public welfare undertakings, leading his team to create a scientific and technological innovation service platform. Today, we also count with Cici Zhao, Director of Go Global Geo Group, a leading international HR employer of record solution provider. She's based in Luxembourg, leads the Asia Pacific and EMEA sales teams at the Go Global, and she's also the head of Go Global China. Prior to joining Go Global, Cici was a partner at Vista Group, one of the biggest corporate and fund service providers, responsible for the firm's China outbound practice. She worked several years in a law firm and private equity house in China, and she has extensive experiences in assisting clients with international expansion, cross-border, cross-cultural projects, etc. Cici holds a master's degree of laws and master's degree of law and economics. Last but not least, please let me introduce you Oscar Avlimit, who supports Western Europe customers with Tencent cloud services and industry solutions, focusing on gaming, luxury, and retail. Oscar is fully certified, holding associate and professional solution architect certifications of different CSPs. He supports his customers with digital transformation worldwide and connects more customers in China, leveraging the Tencent ecosystem. So, after this brief but very interesting introduction, let's start with the panel discussion, and let's start with Oscar. Oscar, good morning. What is the IT infrastructure virtualization in China, and how does it work? How is it related to cloud computing?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Federico. Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you, everyone. Nice to meet my fellow panelists as well. So for the first question, so it's more like the general concept, right? Like, what is virtualization, IT virtualization? It's the same. It's same in everywhere. For IT virtualization, it's a way to virtualize or abstract the underlying IT physical devices or infrastructures, so that actually the IT team can allocate different workloads, different resources to multiple system platforms. That's kind of the by definition. So it's a kind of combination of different software. And if you take some examples, let's say for computing virtualization, the cloud computing is one a good example of computing the virtualization. So it's a way to kind of virtualize your CPU, to run different operating system on single CPU or different application on in a single server. So cloud computing or container is a good example for or work a desktop virtualization. You might have used it before. In one desktop you might have different operating system running at the same simultaneously. And also for storage virtualization, it's a way kind of to combine different the uh, storage resources into one repository so that you can allocate workload, allocate your storage in different nodes. For example, there are some storage virtualizations, techniques invented from IBM or NetApp in the industry. And another example can be network virtualization. It's kind of the way to decouple the network abilities from underlying hardware infrastructures. As a user, you don't need to actually know, the routers, switches underlying, and you can actually set up your network easily, um, with the help of virtualization. Some of the examples are VPN. That's how we use. That's a typical example of network virtualization, or SD-WAN as well. So that's a kind of the general definition for virtualization, and there are some benefits for virtualization. For example, since you have you don't need to invest for the capital infrastructure, so you will reduce your cost. You will reduce your upfront cost, or for the organization, you actually turn your the capex to opex. So you only have operation expenditure. You don't have the hardware expenditure in that way. Also, with the virtualization, you have be able to access elastic, high available resources globally. So it will actually increase the agility of your IT infrastructure or application. And also, because you don't need to invest or maintain those big, hardwares, those servers, so you have more time to focus on your core business, which will kind of increase your productivity. And of course, for in terms of usage, it's easy to use because all of the console will be centralized, and then you can access with web browser, or you can access with APIs, for developers as well. So that's kind of benefits, and also that's why it grows really fast in the industry. And there are several key elements, for us to understand virtualization better. For example, the first one is host, host server, which is kind of the hardware, physical server underlying all of virtualization. So virtualization is not the magic, right? There's still like hardware underlying. So that's a host server where you virtualize your resources on the top of that. And then there's a hypervisor, which is the key elements of virtualization, which enable multi tenants virtualization for one the CPU or hardware servers. There are different hypervisors. We will talk about that later, like type 1, type 2 hypervisor, or some of the the names that you might heard in the industry, like Zen, KVM. I think moderator also talked a little bit about KVM virtualizations. And on the top of that, of course, there's some hypervisor management managers like OpenStack, or for us, for Tencent, we have our self developed hypervisor manager. I will talk a bit later for that. So that's the layer to manage those hypervisor and virtual resources. And on the top of that, we have applications, right? Like like a lot of applications that we're using, like meeting room, Zoom, Google Doc, or some other like Tencent Video, Tencent Games. That are kind of application hosted on those virtualization layers. So that's kind of overall definition virtualization and how it related to cloud. I also mentioned about, but it's kind of a way of virtualization for computing. Cloud computing is a way of virtualizer computing so that people can actually easily use IT infrastructures without upfront investment or hardware purchases.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Oscar. Thank you. Now, next question for Cici. Cici, good morning. Which sectors in China are adopting virtual services?
Well, I think just giving my background, I can't talk all those digital terms as my fellow panelists, because I'm actually from the service industry, and for the moment, our product is HR, so human capital. So when we talk about virtualization of services, when we talk about services, naturally from my background, we focus very much on human beings. In my opinion, then what happens now in China, a lot of those virtual services are virtualizing human being in terms of in the service industry. So what are those services available that to be virtualized? For the moment, I think China is probably one of the most advanced country in terms of adopting virtual services. We're in the whole society. But then the focus is more on, in my opinion, that virtual assistant services, meaning like assisting people, assisting customers, assisting business owners. So it's in our day-to-day life, we could see the virtual services from supermarket to hospitality sectors, from bank receptionist to restaurant waitress or waiters, from payment to professional advice, including medical advice. And I know Marco will discuss this, we'll probably discuss further, that from school education to TV show host in business, it covers also front office, mid and back office. It could do quality control, product sourcing, IT, bookkeeping, marketing, human resources, and even legal advice or part of those advices. But I think there's also a fine line between virtual services and virtual reality. I know a lot of investment funds, they are looking into making investment opportunities in those either virtual services or metaverse concept. I think the whole idea is virtual service, what's the advantage that it does not need break, it doesn't need to charge overtime, it does not really have emotion, it does not have a union. So all of those are actually advantage where it's 24/7 available. The idea of utilizing virtual services is more to enhance the productivity of certain business, is to enhance the customer experience, is to try to eliminate certain uncertainties when you actually deal with human being. However, I'd like to also add in maybe the whole panel discussion to find what is feasible, what is possible to be virtualized, because I don't believe virtual service can replace human being entirely. So what is feasible and possible and advisable actually can enhance productivity, and what is actually not, where we found the fine line still, because human being will still need human touch, and for the moment we can't live in a virtual reality, in metaverse. So that is something actually I'd like to hear also from my fellow panelists. Thank you, Federico.
Thank you, Cici. And as you said right now, I remind to all of you guys, panelists, speakers, that you can intervene in any moment when any other of you are speaking. And if you want to add something, discuss something, debate something has been said, please just let me know, and we, of course, can do it. Let's continue then with our next question for Wang. Wang, good afternoon for you, because you are based in China. In what way does China biodiversity conservation and green development benefit from the application of global service informatization and virtualization?
Yeah, good night to everyone. And here is afternoon 14 hours. And just as Oscar and Cici say, internet changed everything in China, everything. And we are CBC, CDF, and we have gained enough benefit from the internet. And CBC GDF is the second published and contributor of GBIF. We have continued to participate in the formulations of global by-devices framework in the few years. And in the world, the International Department of CBC GDF has organized the establishment of the Global Environment Governance Capacity Building Workshop platform 20 years and maybe 10 years. Through the Global International, we have successfully published the governance system, recommendation, and the governance measures of relevant introduced in various cities, especially the developing countries. 1 month ago, I come to Pakistan and from another countries. I found the internet emotion model can help them. And I mean, without an internet model, it is impossible to build the current government network. So now the information exchange and service in the field of global environment governance has been very smooth. Through information technology, we can organize and lead the establishment of the international development knowledge and experience exchange platform, establish the global development promote central, and we establish the global development knowledge network. And then now I'm a network CIO, carrying out of the exchange of the governance experience and promote learning from each other. By remote communication, just like we do, a model organize the World Young Development Forum and jointly launch the Global Young Development Action Plan to bring together to the broadcast. And effect from the improvement of the United National 2030 agenda from September developed. Yes, so we still say also we can do anything. It is impossible to build the current government's network. Yes, and more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Marco, good afternoon also for you, since you are based in China. How has the virtualization of services changed the provision of services in the legal profession in China?
Yes, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. When I was asked to think about this topic, my first reaction was, well, you know, there's actually not many changes because we kind of see the legal profession as a very conservative and reluctant to changes. You know, once we achieve a certain position or certain status, we would like it to stay there and not to move, you know. Like, you know, it takes so many effort to learn the laws, and then when they change the laws, you feel uncomfortable, you have to start again. But then I thought about when I was starting my career some 30 years ago, and I'm talking to those to the younger members of the audience, I actually realized that two things. The most important room, or the nicest room in the office, was the meeting room. And the tools we were using for communicating were the telephone and registered letters. The fax was the most technological tool we had in the office. And we were not using emails. We were using internet only to access very expensive and very not so user-friendly tools like databases for our searches, and it was quite difficult. So if I measure the distance from those times to what we're doing now, I think we have actually gone through huge changes, and to be honest, it's quite positive. I mean, the judgment I have on what's happened technologically speaking in law firms is actually very positive. I'll give you only some examples of what tools that we use now as lawyers that we were not using before, and we were not even imagining we could use just a few years ago. One example is we're often required as lawyers to provide translations, and translation is something that you're not really very happy to do because it's boring, it's difficult, it's not so easy. You have to make sure that the language in which you translate actually not only has the same meaning as the original language, but also the same legal effects. And now what we do, we use online translators, which are very good. Of course, you need a final check, but this has made your work much easier and faster with a higher quality, which is constantly improving. Just a few years ago, online translations were not so reliable. Now they're, I wouldn't say they're almost perfect, but very near that level. But we also use a lot of tools, online tools, mainly internet, for training, for courses, for legal searches, to search cases, which before you had to go into books. You had meeting rooms full of books, of volumes of a collection of cases and legislation, and now everything's accessible on a screen, and that's also it's a huge advantage. What has changed also is the relationship with clients, and this has been increased by the latest situation of the last 2 years. I mean, the pandemic. The relationship you build with a lawyer is a relationship of trust, and at the end, you want to meet your lawyer, and you as a lawyer, you want to meet your client. You have to really physically meet and possibly have lunch together, and all this was not possible in the last 2 years, and so we had to resort to online meetings, which are not exactly the same. I mean, a phone call is not the same as a personal meeting, but then we got used to it, and now more and more often we use this kind of tools, and it's been accepted on both sides. So it's a great achievement considering also the current circumstances. Other tools that we use, we have tools that are on the cloud. For example, we have data rooms on the cloud. We can put a whole set of documents which are accessible only to the concerned parties. With all the technology that is now, this is quite safe also, and also very useful and commonly used in law firms. And then there are other instruments which are not so much used, but I think will be developed much more in the future, like electronic signature, digital execution, transfer of documents, of very heavy documents in a safe way. Without actually moving the documents from place to place physically. And then what we can mention also is that the legal environment has also changed around us. For example, a few years ago, it was not even thinkable of having a digital lawsuits, digital hearings, or digital proceedings. And now actually we do have that. And it's very common in China now when you have a lawsuit in another city and you cannot travel for various reasons to have the hearing online with the judge, the parties, and the lawyers of each side attending the hearing pretty much in the same way we're doing today for this webinar. So this also has provided a very useful tool in the profession, and also changed the habits. You don't have to travel anymore, basically. And I think this will again increase in the future because it has proven very, very useful. Also, in the legal environment around us, what I've seen is that the administration, at least here in China, a bit less maybe in Europe. I mean, when I say Europe, my references are in Italy, my country of origin, together with France. And I see what my colleagues do there. It's not the same as what is happening here. And here we can witness heavy digitalization of the administrative processes. Typical examples are if you want to incorporate a company, before you had to submit a whole set of paper documents, and you had to go to the administration to queue up at the counter and then submit the papers. Now it's all done online. You submit your application online, and then later you have to back it up with the papers. But mainly it's an online process now. The same you can see with the relationship with administration and the citizens. A lot of applications are now used to file a registration, to apply for certification. An example for foreigners in China, when you enter China, each time you go out, you have to, or each time you move your address in China, you have to register yourself with the local police station, the local security bureau. And you had to take appointment before, you had to go there, you had to collect a whole set of documents and go again. Now it's done with an app on your phone in about 2 or 3 minutes. So this also has changed the legal relationship with the people, not only with the legal service providers. So yes, it has affected a lot our profession, much more than what we could have expected or we could have wished in a way, because many of the tools we're using now were simply science fiction, 20 years ago. So it's quite a positive judgment, I would say.
Okay, if I'm allowed to chime in, I think Marco made a really good point. Apart from for virtualization or for cloud computing, apart from transforming our way of life or habit of work, I think there's several points worth to mention. From the environmental perspective or the energy saving perspective, virtualization is also a good way to do that, because with our conventional traditional way, I think there's several downsides for that. One is that most of the CPU utilization is really low. Actually, we're wasting a lot of resources with the computing. For example, if we just need to run like small application, we still need to buy a bunch of hardware, and then we need electricity to support them. We need cooler to cool it off. So there will be a lot of energy consumed just for a small application. But with a virtualization or cloud computing, there will be managed collectively by the professional people, and then because of the multi-tenants, the characteristic of cloud, so it will increase the efficiency of CPU utilization, which another way actually decrease or have a more energy consumption as well. So that's a good way. And another I think also need to mention is there are also some concerns about virtualization. Like Marco mentioned about some from legal perspective. Because of the nature of virtualization, it's a multi-tenant, and it's actually you share resources data with a lot of people, and also related to data residency in different countries. And also it's hard to have really clear responsibility sharing because there are a lot of virtualization involved over there. So that kind of facts will give concerns for the company or data owners to have a deeper thought for virtualization as well.
Well, I know, Federico, I don't want to kidnap your
Sure, please. No, please, Cici.
Because this is interesting. I hear you, and I'm a very big fan of virtualization because I think that saves a lot of time, energy, and we can be a lot more efficient and effective. Imagining, I haven't been back to China for 3 years. However, I was able to continue doing contact business with Chinese clients regardless, without seeing each other, without actually going out for lunch, like Marco says. However, on the other hand, because at Go Global, we are all working from home, so we're all remote working. We don't really have office or clients, their employees as well. However, last week we had a group gathering of a few functions in Germany. People were so happy to see each other. We were hugging, we were having dinner, we were drinking, and then I had some people coming back afterwards saying, it's so nice to still feeling that you are not just virtually being included in a group, in a company. You allegedly you have colleagues, you see them on the screen every day, you talk to them. However, this is actually real human flesh that you see them, you feel them, you talk to them, you talk about things that you don't normally. Then you are a lot more open and more personal, more connected, and you feel the bond there. So I still think, efficiency is one thing we are looking at here. Humanity is another thing we're looking on the other side of this desk as well. We need to, and then of course, as Marco says, I think we discussed before, when we virtualize, I think Oscar, you have the same in there, the data protection, because then with virtualized services, you will collect so many personal data of human beings, their behavior, even those behaviors they don't realize and notice. You know exactly who they are, what's their next movement, how to protect those data, how to respect the privacy of those data. I think that's actually a very big concern also in China, and now we have also the personal data protection. However, also in Europe, you have the GDPR. However, I found the GDPR is something that, if you don't agree with my term, you can't use my service. However, I need you to use your service, so I have to go with your term. It is in theory a protection, however, is really protecting our privacy and our data. And do we really know how those data are collected, used, and processed, stored, and who's benefiting from all of those? Sorry, I don't want to.
Oh, great, great, excellent. Thank you so much, Cici, Oscar, for this. Yeah, Mr. Wang. Wang, you raise your hand, you want to say something? Wang?
Yeah. Okay. Wait a moment.
Yeah.
And I want to. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's like Cici say, the COVID had an impact in in very utilized process in China, and now we have an office in American and German, but I can't go there, and I sleep in Guangzhou, only in Guangzhou. We can't to Beijing, and if I come to Beijing, I can't come from Guangzhou. So COVID changed everything, and now when we try to provide deep data, calibrate and governance calibration service for relevant introduced in various countries, we found the workload was huge and we couldn't understand, and could only be carried out through various countries. Why the China industry service platform can build out in another city, but we can't build a platform in the convenient CBC CDF can't do it.